Hi everyone, it's me, Danielle. I just thought I'd pop on and share about some more of my interesting stories. I had just watched an interview on a podcast called Next Level Soul. Um, it was titled Prepare Yourself, Bashar's Urgent Prediction for Mankind with Daryl Inca. I'll put a link in the video details because it's worth a watch. I think it's a really good episode. I always find the things that Bashar says, um, it just resonates with me so much. In the beginning of this interview, he explains the shift that currently the Earth is going through. And I've heard many different psychics try to describe the shift from 3D to 5D and what that's going to look like. And I feel like this is an interesting one and it makes a lot of sense. And I think if anyone is curious about that, I think that you'll see as he describes it that it is already happening and the ways that it's kind of playing out for us. It will make a lot of sense. At about the 26-minute mark, he starts talking about, or they start talking about the multiverse. Um, there are multiple dimensions, and there's multiverse, which is parallel versions of Earth. Um, I believe we've all heard of string theory. Hugh Everett proposed the multiverse concept in 1957, suggesting every quantum event spawns separate universes for each outcome. The idea with that is that we incarnate here and all the different choices we make in our life, we're actually experiencing them all in different multiverse. Hugh Everett's theory was controversial until the acceptance of string theory by quantum physicists. In physics, string theory is a theoretical framework in which the point-like particles of particle physics are replaced by one-dimensional objects called strings. I don't know how a string could be one-dimensional. String theory describes how these strings propagate through space and interact with each other. I'm going to share my screen right now because I believe we'll all recognize this from science class. In particle physics, energy is made, everything's made of energy, and all energy is comprised of electrons, neutrons, protons, and it looks like this. This is the way we grew up thinking about matter and what makes everything in our reality. This is what string theory looks like, apparently. And it's quite different. So it's not about particles, it's about these strings that make everything. And I don't know, because I'm not a quantum physicist, why this changes what we believe about time and space and basically everything, quantum entanglement. But physicists have been very excited about this. And I know that since they accepted this theory, that the idea about a multiverse has come about and been more accepted, and that scientists, physicists believe that there could be 10 or 11 different versions of reality. I don't know why they came up with that number, and I certainly don't know how many versions of reality there are, but for me personally, I can't explain quantum physics. I'm an artist, not a physicist, but even if I could explain it, I don't even know if it's something that people can just like grasp. Like you can go, oh, okay, that explains everything. No, I don't think so. I think it's math equations. But I do know from my own personal experiences that there are multiple versions of Earth. And I was going to share about some of these experiences right now. So let me get my notes. So, one of the first experiences I had with another version of reality was just so simple. I was lying in bed with my animals and I heard a doorbell, and it was like 10 or 11 p.m. at night. And my dog and I both sort of perked up and looked in the direction of my kitchen where I have a door. as if that is where we heard the doorbell noise. I was thinking at the time that my house doesn't have a doorbell, but in the morning I got up and inspected, the area around my door in the kitchen. And not only do I not have a doorbell, but my house has never had a doorbell. There's not a hole drilled into the wall like some people you might see a little wire hanging out like they removed their doorbell, but you can tell that there used to be a doorbell. My house doesn't have a doorbell and never had a doorbell. So when I heard that, I thought, oh, my house must have a doorbell in another dimension. Another night, the cat jumped on my bed and I smelled burned hair. And when I touched him, I got these three red flashes of light in my eyes, like kind of a warning. And I got up and checked. So I put a baking pan over my burners on my stove because the cats sometimes will lay on the burners and you could hear the clicking sound and everything, like they're almost gonna light one of the burners. So I had forgotten to put the pan over the burners that night and went to bed. And in apparently another dimension, my cat did start a burner and got a little bit burned. So I smelled it, I got a warning, I got up and I put the pan over my burners. Another night, I had gone to bed and I was laying there. I I closed my eyes and I was starting to fall asleep, but I heard my kitchen door open and the light turn on in the kitchen, and I could see the light through my doorway of my bedroom. And my dogs woke up and ran out of my room. And so I wake up thinking that my daughter had just walked into my house. And when I woke up and opened my eyes, my dogs were still on the bed. There was no light on in the kitchen. So the dogs were sleeping. So when I close my eyes and I'm still awake and I'm looking with my third eye, I can see that the light is on in the kitchen and I have an extra dog that I don't recognize. I have a third dog, and it was like a middle-sized dog that sort of matched my dogs in color, but I have a small Chihuahua and a pit bull, so I don't know who that middle dog was at all. And then another time I was laying in bed and I heard my bedroom door slide. I have a sliding door for my bedroom, and I actually installed the sliding door. My house didn't come with a sliding door to my bedroom. But the weird thing was A, nobody else was in my house and nobody opened or closed the door in my room. But B, it sounded like I had an upstairs bedroom. So it was like my house had a second floor and I heard the door that I installed slide upstairs. So I thought, wow, in another dimension, my house has a second floor, which would be kind of cool. I wish my house did have a second floor. So another experience, like it just goes on and on. I have so many. So, it just turns out that my house is on a dimension line, which I'm about to get into. I started realizing that my house had a dimension line because of all these things that were happening. So I go camping at the beach and I'm sitting on a chair looking at the ocean. And I saw this line in the sky. I'm going to share my screen again because I made uh, an image of what it looked like to me. So I didn't take a picture at the time of what it looked like, and I don't know that it would have come out in the photograph anyways, but my eyes were open and I was seeing this gray thick line in the sky. So I talked to my friend and she also saw the line in the sky. And so I was thinking at the time when I saw it that it probably passed over my house. I was at the beach in Ventura. I was at a campground called Rincon. I was in Site 91, and it was around my site where this line was going overhead. So I actually plotted the site, Rincon, I mean, approximately, obviously, my house and my friend's work, and they were all in this line. So when I shared about this on Facebook, somebody else in Florida also experienced uh, another dimension. They said that they had drove to a town in Florida, and when they drove into the town, the little market had a bunch of graffiti on the wall. And the next morning, when they got up to go to the market, there was no graffiti on the wall. So I was able to plot that spot on the map and draw the line all the way across America, which I actually kind of thought that it might go through New Orleans, but it didn't. It doesn't go through New Orleans. However, the line is thick, okay? Like I said before, when I saw it, it looked really wide, and I don't really know how thick that line is. But I found this map on a group I'm in on Facebook. It's about ley lines and vortexes, and it showed basically my line that I plotted and how it's connected to the Bermuda Triangle. So I thought that was really interesting. Anyways, so I had camped at the beach again another time, and my friend was staying in the RV with me. She was having uh, she was having problems breathing because she was allergic to my animals that were in the RV. And so with every breath, she was keeping me awake because she kept like coughing and sniffling and everything, and I just couldn't fall asleep. So she ends up getting up and saying, I just need to take an allergy pill. So she gets up, she walks to the front of my RV, and she comes back in my room wearing this thing on her face that was green. And she said, I needed my nebulizer. And she gets back into bed, and she falls asleep. But when I wake up in the morning, she's not there. And I look out my window of my RV, and she's sleeping in her car. So when she gets up in the morning and she comes in the RV, I said, when did you move to the RV? And she said, I got up and took an allergy pill, and I told you I was going to sleep in my car. And I said, no, you got up and you took an allergy pill, and then you came back to bed and you said you needed your nebulizer. And she said, what is a nebulizer? And I said, I don't even know, because you're the one who said it. So we actually Googled what it meant, and we saw that it is something that people wear on their faces for asthma, which neither of us knew about. So it was just another thing where I'm like on this line, this weird vortex line, ley line, I don't even know, dimension line, and experiencing that I had hopped into some other timeline and back, and it was so confusing. So that brings me to January. This last January, I know I've mentioned it before, but with the solar flares, there was a lot of problems here at my house. And there was this rip in the matrix, and my house was having all this stuff funnel in from outer space. Like it was really gnarly. It was gnarly. And I was having a really hard time. One of the things that was giving me a hard time is that when I was calling for help at night, and I'd call in Saint Germain quite a bit because, him and Michael Shaman, they've merged energies. So a lot of times when Saint Germain, he comes to my shaman appointments, and he's been here at my house a couple of times helping me. But I called for him to help me one night because my abilities were glitching. And so I saw him and Michael Shaman pop into my bedroom to help me, but they were looking around and they couldn't see me at all. And so it was really weird, but my house was shifting around in all these different dimensions. And my dragon also could not go to wherever my house was shifting. So my dragon became one of the ways that I could check to see if I was still in my dimension. I could look to the side of my bed, and if I could see my dragon, then I was still where he was. And if I couldn't see him, then I knew I was drifting off into these other dimensions where I wasn't going to be able to be helped. So it was kind of crazy. I tried lots of different things like visualizing. Um, I was visualizing roots growing from my house into the earth to try to stabilize it. I had bought shungite, hematite, was it black onyx? I don't know. I bought a bunch of grounding stones and I was placing them all around like the corners of my property, burying them in the dirt, placing them by my bed, trying to do all this stuff to try to stabilize my house. And nothing was really working. And I was starting to become sensitive to it. Like I could feel it, the movement in my stomach. Like, when you're on an elevator or if you're on a roller coaster, you could feel that you're moving. And I was starting to be able to be sensitive to that and know, like, oh my God, I'm swinging wildly through other dimensions, other, you know, parallel universes of Earth. Uh, and so we tried to burn salt to try to calm down the energy. That didn't work. And finally, my daughter was able to visualize. And I'm just going to mention this in case anyone else is finding themselves having trouble holding down their property because there's probably quite a bit of light workers who have found that they've bought in property on these crazy vortexes, dimension lines, ley lines. And they may have problems with this. So this is really helpful. My daughter, I asked her to please help me lock down this house to this dimension, to this version of our reality. And so what she did was she imagined a big magnet under our house holding us down, and that worked. So my root idea, my rocks, none of that worked. The magnet worked. So I find that very interesting, but I hope that that might help somebody else. I think that we also may start noticing if you know that your consciousness is actually seamlessly moving through all these different multiverse versions of yourself, you may notice it sometime. And sometimes when I notice it, it's actually in my dreams. So I had a dream recently. It's kind of disturbing, but I had a dream that my house had a home invasion. And in the dream, I grabbed a knife that I keep under my mattress and I had a battle with this person. And it was pretty graphic and pretty horrible. And when I woke up, it seemed pretty real. And I don't even remember my dreams that often. But when I went onto Facebook, I'm in a neighborhood group, and there was a photo of this homeless couple that were, somebody took a picture of them at the park, that they were on drugs and stuff. And the man, when I saw his face, I was like, oh my God, I think that's the person that was, in my dream. And I was telling my friend, Hannah, and she was here staying at the house. And I told her about this dream, about this home invasion. And she was able to describe what the man looked like. She said, did he have, sideburns? Which he did. He had really big sideburns. And even in the picture on Facebook, he had big sideburns. And she asked me where our battle took place. And I pointed to it, and she already knew. And she also knew how the fight ended with me and the knife over my head and like doing one of these type motions kind of to his heart area. So I don't know how somebody else can see and describe a dream that I had if it was only a dream. So I'm just saying we might need to consider the possibility that some of our dreams are actually us, our consciousness traveling to the other versions of our life here on Earth. So at the end of the interview with Daryl Anka, which I still recommend you watch it. I think it's more than an hour, but it was really, really good. Lots of good information about, multiverse, multiple dimensions, the shift that we're going through currently. But he also said this couple sentences where he says that Bashar tries to describe what reality really is that we are in. And it was kind of funny because he said it's almost undescribable what it really looks like. He said it's like projections and hallucinations, and it looks like what we would see if we were on drugs, and that we're interacting with spirit all the time. And it kind of like really, really drove home like that's when I close my eyes at night, that's what it looks like. What I see, it's not just a room of ghosts all in one dimension. It's like if there were invisible movie screens, like 10 deep, and there's a projection on each screen, and you can see through the 10 different layers. That's what it looks like. And I don't know that the layers see each other and they can kind of walk through me and all this stuff, but that's what it looks like to me. And it's almost hard for me to focus on just one layer. I have to sort of focus my attention on just one screen to see the details of that one. And then I see through to another screen and try to focus on those details if I care to look at them at all. But that's what it really looks like. And I know that I had a life as an ET that had a lot of different pupils, and that's why I think that I see so many different dimensions at once. It's almost too much. So it can be a bit like hard to pinpoint or pick out one detail. Sometimes I see one very clearly, and then I think because I had all these different eyes that I might shift my vision through the different pupils and be able to focus on one dimension or another. Probably just different vibrations that I can focus on. But anyways, I just thought I would share about that. The multiverse is real. Our consciousness is shifting all the time. We are having a split right now. And we may see glitches. We may notice these glitches. I know because this dimension line goes through my town. I've had customers tell me that they were driving home from work, and a road that they always take wasn't there anymore. And so they had to like drive back, and then they came again, and then the road was there. So you may notice little weird things like that. I know my friend had experienced an Amazon package got dropped at her front door, and she heard a dog barking in her house that she doesn't have a dog. So maybe in another dimension she has a dog. Maybe there was a dog in spirit and she's clairaudient. It could be either. So just be open. I think when our consciousness is open to accept that there's more than one version of us or reality on earth, we may experience them. I think if our consciousness is closed to the idea that there is other versions, you may not experience it. All right. So I'd love to hear if anyone else has had experiences with alternate versions of their life on Earth, and drop them in the comments. And also, about the ley lines, hey, vortexes, share your stories. I'd love to hear about them. Otherwise, thank you so much for spending a few minutes listening to me, Babylon. And I hope everyone has a beautiful day.